Hello, welcome to Marty's Electro Rails. Today, since I have got a 3D printer now, I've kind of given in to it, as 3D printers are so cheap now. I've got an FDM printer. I thought, while looking at some of the old carriages, I have this one, which, geez, I think I got this when I was 4 years old, and I was in 1979. My dad had picked this up for me. I was 4 years old. It was my first ever Hornby train, basically, and that was the actual shunter engine you got with it. Unfortunately, yeah, it's still in bits, but process. I've got spare parts for it. This is actually a combination of two locos, exactly the same, from two different decades, but the motors are identical, and I've managed to find all the kind of spare parts wherever they were. I've kept them in a box for so many years, and I'm hoping to get that back up and running. Anyway, that's another project. Put that back in the cookie jar, so to speak, cookie tin. Back to this. So I've got these two carriages. Date back to, well, I think that one dates back to 1962, as where the loco is the original shunter engine from 1962. I got this with, there was a brake van and another kind of, it was like a coal wagon. So there was three carriages with it, and I managed to keep the roof for it. This one used to have a white roof, but I have absolutely no clue where that has gone now. So I am going to try, using my 3D printer, to duplicate this for this. Bit of a challenge. So yeah, I'll probably actually put that away as for safekeeping, just in case at any exhibitions or anything like that I find the original roof for it. So I will put that away, and I'm going to see if I can duplicate this, and I'll print off two identical so they both fit on that. So we'll move over to the computer, and yeah, that's what we're going to do today. Right, okay, we're here, and we're at the desktop computer. As you can see, I have opened up a program called Tinkercad. This is incredibly useful for creating 3D models for 3D prints. I have used this for quite a wee while. I've mainly used, they have a section in this program where you can build electrical circuits and test them before you actually physically build them. I've been using that for quite a good few years now. It is free. You can log in through a Google account, and it is, I mean, I've now discovered the 3D printing side of it, and to be honest, it is very, very good. Prior to this, to building 3D models or 3D graphics, I've used Blender. Now, obviously, that is more for 3D graphic creation and kind of gaming and things like that, for creating assets for games, and also for, as I said, animations, which I've kind of mainly used that for. But this is going to be kind of, if for somebody wanting to get into creating their own models and 3D prints, this is incredibly useful. It's an absolutely amazing program. It works in a kind of different way from a traditional kind of graphics program, but once you actually get your head around it, it's really, really quite intuitive, to be honest. You have a number of different things on this. You've got your work plane, which you can just, obviously that's your kind of bearing plate on your printer. And you have lots and lots of shapes all the way down here. You can basically click on them and drag them across, and you can manipulate them, move them, and change to the sizes you want. Each of these grids count as, well, the smaller grid counts as 1mm, as we would do in like graph paper, and obviously the bigger boxes are 10mm. So you can drag any shapes and do various different things with them. The whole idea is that if I take that away, that's actually going to be a work plan there. So you can create all these different shapes, manipulate them, move them about, and create all these different things. Also, what this also has is a really good and useful kind of sketch. You can sketch out your own kind of shapes and models. You can create curves, all sorts of things. We'll be using the curves quite heavily today. And when you finish sketch, it gives you this weird whatever you want to draw out. There are things on here, as I said, there's lots of different shapes that are already kind of preloaded up. There are other things down here where you print, you can it gives you cogs that you can actually manipulate, kind of gears and cogs and things like that you can use for more creative 3D printing. There are, you can print off, well, you can, for instance, it's this wheel, and then you can print it off. It's obviously not going to be the different colours, depends if you've got a multicolour printer. There's lots and lots of different things that in the menu that you can use. One of the things that I did have a look at was structures and scenery, which if you want to print off a small mountain for your model railway or any of your models that you want, you can do that. There's trees and things. I wouldn't highly recommend them, but they are there. There's lots and lots of different structures, windows, things like that. If you can, if you've got a printer that can do the detail, then absolutely brilliant. The FDM printer I've got, it's not too bad with 00, but you just got to kind of be careful with a lot of stuff that you print off and not too much detail. You can even print off track. Anyway, and manipulate that as well as lampposts, all sorts of different things. Like I say, the program allows you to manipulate these models. As I say, I'm scrolling down the side here. I am looking for a certain thing which I can't find. Saying go for scenery and see. Yep, I'm sure there is a wall function where you could actually print off a wall. I cannot find it just now. Yeah, so you want to print off, not the best, but you could manipulate it, change it, just to give a bit of texture to a wall. You can edit this and print it off to make walls for your model railway. But anyway, what I'm going to do today, as I said, is we're going to recreate this little, we're going to recreate this, the roof for this. So let's get into it. One thing that I didn't show you was that I took the dimensions of our little roof, and I put them on to a bit of paper and wrote them down. So I'm going to match these dimensions when I am drawing out this sketch. So first of all, I want to create the roof, I think. So I'll use this little sketch tool. Incidentally, there's a lot of YouTube videos showing you how to use Tinkercad. One of the ones that I was having a look at, shows you a lot of tips and tricks, is Tinkercad World, which I would recommend if you want to try and kind of learn how to build stuff in this program, and obviously 3D print it. At the end of the final product, you can download it as an STL file, which you can then load onto your slicer program for your printer. So what we'll do is, first of all, I need to create this arc first for the actual the roof. Now I'm looking at the actual arc is supposed to be 35 millimeters. I am going to make it 36. So I want to 36, right, just thinking, doing some quick maths in my head, so let's be 18. So I've got a centre point here, so I will really want that to be 18 out. I will zoom in so you can see, and so I can see mainly. So the arc starts there. I've already messed that up. I need to select this here, which will just give me a nice curved line. So 18 out, and if I start my arc now from the base point, it is 5 millimeters up. So if I go 5 millimeters up and then 18 out, and that will give me my arc. And the next thing I want to do is I want to actually edit this. I'm going to click on that, and that is done. This will also give me, got a couple of settings here. I'll show you what this does in a minute, but if I click on that, first of all it gives you the width, which is 2 millimeters. I want that down to 1 millimeter. And I want the edges to be rounded. I don't want them square or flat. So this will just round off these edges on this side. When I finish sketch, you shall see that I have my arc. There's a number of options on here, which I can turn this 90 degrees, which is lovely. And what I want to do, if you click on one of these nodes here, that says that's 37. Why is that 37? I need to have a look at the sketch again. Let's have a look here. I'm going back. There might be a bit of going back and forward, but if I edit sketch, I will find out where I've gone wrong. Nope, that's right. The reason why it says 37 is because it will be adding on the thickness of that model. So what I might do is I might bring this down. Let's have a wee look and see if I can do this. Yep. So I would want to take this in 1. I also need to move the center point. As you see, these need to be absolutely identical. So if I go into Snap Grid and do 0.5, And when I click out of that, they should be both absolutely identical. So let's try that, and we'll just double check that the height is 5. Yes, finish sketch. So that is our arc, which is now, if we look at that, yeah, so it's 36. As I said, it's these areas here that are kind of bulging out, that are creating the extra millimetre. There's a little thing here which you can click on top. There's a lot of different kind of movements with the mouse, which you just generally play about with and find out all the different movements of the mouse. It just becomes like muscle memory eventually, like kind of any program. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to turn this so that it's lying flat. We want it 90 degrees, and we want to put these dimensions in. Now, the roof, the length of it is 66. Because we've not capped the ends on it, it is exactly 66. So this is us with the very start of the model. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to move both of these to the side. Now, you can use the arrow keys to move the models out the road, which I kind of prefer doing. And the next thing is to create the underside of this. Now, the underside is 60 by 28 millimeters. So let's go 60 by 28. Height wise, at the moment, it doesn't really matter, but if the actual height of the whole unit is 7 millimeters. So if I do that, that says we should have our base for this to come across and sit on. Obviously we've got these, the box is actually shown through the curve of the roof. We'll get rid of that in a minute. Next thing I want to do, I want to duplicate this again, and I want to change the dimensions to 26 and 58. Now this will give me an internal cube, which if I line up, there is quite a cool line up feature on this. So if you want them dead centre of one another, if you select both, there's a little tool up here that says align. All you have to do is hit that, and then this lines the two boxes up, which is wonderful. Now, how you manipulate and change these models, it's not a case of just like pulling in one of these and then you can, you know, make it into a triangle or something like that. You have to make it interact with other cubes or other circles to create the shapes that you want. To do this, if I select the middle cube, and there's an option here that says whole, this model now is see-through. If I take that out and put it there, you can see that see-through. So if I put it back, go back. Now if I select both of these models, and there's an option up here, it says union group. You can group them to get bundle group, which just basically groups them together. A union group, they'll interact with one another. So if I click on that, you can see now that the shape is hollow, which is what we're looking for. Yet again, that's us. We have got our shape, but yet we have the cube sticking through the top. Next thing we want to do is we want to get rid of, well, we don't want to get rid of that, we'll move that over there. We want to bring this across there's a little option to lie it flat on the work plane. And so I want to create what would kind of be known, what would be a mould of this roof. This will become apparent in a minute. So I want to make that, let's make it 30. Oh, I've just deleted it, great. Let's make that 30. And the length of that is 66. And we don't need to have that. Stick that at 10 just now. This will all become apparent in a minute. And we want to line them up. Use a line up function. And yeah, I've just realised something. I wonder how. So what we want is just the top section of this. I'm just trying to think how I can actually remove that and split it. I'm not 100% sure. Need to think about this. Let's try and see if we can edit the width of this. So edit sketch. And what we'll do is click on that. Ah, I know. We're going to make this a solid object. So now, finish sketch, we've made that base a solid object. Haha. So yet again, if we put it on the plane, and then if we make that a okay, 35. Did I get my dimensions wrong there? 30. Why did I say 30? Ah, that's wrong. Right, I'm going to make it 37. And then we'll line them both up. Sometimes you just have to bear with me when I do this stuff. So that will make our inner mould. And this time what we'll do is we'll make that a hole, and then select both of these guys, and when we make it a union, we now have the exact same curve that we have on, if you look over here, on this. Should be. Say we can use the arrow keys to move it left and right. What if you hit Control and hit the up arrow, it moves up. So as you can see, that's the perfect curve for the roof. I'm moving that to the side, and we also need to make a curvature for the underside of this. That'll become apparent soon, so do exactly the same thing, and we'll make that 66 length, and we'll make that, what did I say, 37. And we can just make this 10. Okay, so instead I recreated that shape and I have made this a solid shape, so that's on the top. Right, so this will be the mould. Take that away. It's a lot of figuring out how to actually do this. So in theory, this should be as long as I don't change the height of it, the arc should be identical to that. I'll just move that into place. And so now we can make that so that it takes away the top of the red block and should leave us with an actual arch for the underside. Union group. Oh, look at that. That's totally balls up. Let's undo that. Right, I need to line these up before I do it. Well, let's just double check the sizes of that. 35 and that's 35 as well. So let's do that again. We'll line these up using the line up tool. And this time, when we select both of these, it should. Yeah. So we've now got, in effect, we have a mould for the top and a mould for underneath. Yet again, these will become apparent. So that looks, another way you can do this is if you make that hole, you can actually see through it. So there's just a tiny wee bit missing on that. So this is where we go to 0.1 of a millimetre. We'll see how that cuts through that. Now that is minuscule, so it's not going to make any difference to the actual design. So next thing is we want to create this curve onto the red hollow block. Right, so there we go. And now, in theory, we should have, I'm going to move it back to, if I line both of these up to the centre points, we now have our, that now should be, that roof should be 7mm away from the top of that. Let's have a wee look here. I'll put it into one, not mess about with that, and we're going to move that down just to have a look. So you can see that comes through. That is exactly 7mm. The distance, if you can see in the tiny little camera, between top and bottom is 7mm. So I want to have that just over the top. I'll make that hollow just now so we can see. So that's 0.1 and 0.2 of a millimetre there. So make that back into a solid shape. Right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to save this. Well, we're not going to save it yet. We're going to marry both of these up. So yet again, instead of making one of them marked as clear, we're just basically going to select both of them and marry both of them up. And that has now got our roof with the little insert underneath. I'm not going to put any detail on it. I'm going to print that off and see what it looks like. There's probably a number of different ways I can print this off. But we'll try it flat on the printer bed. So you hit export. You want to, in fact, before we do anything, this is what I should have done first of all, was I should have renamed it up here on the left hand side. So we do wagon roof. Try and spell it right. So yeah, we'll go export. And an STL file. And that is now in our downloads here. I will save that one to the desktop and move it over to the slicer. So here comes the moment of truth. Does it fit? Have I got the curvature right on the roof? I just needs a wee bit filing down, but yeah, it fits. And look at the curve. That's pretty cool. One thing, obviously, this is kind of not acceptable. So the next time what I'll do is I'll print it that way around. This took, with the supports, about 30 minutes to print. Yeah, I'm going to try and mount it that way, well, print it that way, and have a go at that, and that should get rid of this, and it should be a lot smoother. What I'll do is I continue with adding all the detail on top of this before I print it next. Just go for a full print as it's only 30 minutes. So I'm going to take the original roof, but this time I'll make a copy before I mess it up. Right down here, I'm going to move it about a bit, change the size. This is just to get the shape. Now I've actually measured the little the distance of all the different details on the roof. So the next thing I want to do is I want to turn that 90 and then turn it 90 that way. Oh jeez. So I turn it 90 that way, and then now I can bring this in here. I want to actually bring it back out again. I'll just stretch it. What length do I want to make that? That was 66. So it's very close to the edges. So to be honest, I really want to make it 64. So there's a millimetre at each end. Select both of these. I'm going to line them up again, but just on that axis. And we need to have enough of this. Doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter how high you go. It's just what's practical. And I'm going to double check it with the original. So I want to line these up. I'm going to line these two up. Middle. Oh, and of course it's under. Of course. Can I select that and then bring it up? So let's see what it looks like on the actual roof. Now that doesn't look too bad. It is maybe. I was trying to see on this. It's about 2 millimeters away from. Oh, why is that off centre? I will sort that in a minute. Right, so what I want to do is now I want to centre all of these up. So it's very close to the edge. I'm going to move that back just a smidgen. Just one Right, so we want to I think that's okay. I want to kind of get this right first time. So now I've done that, I want to bring the vertical curve up onto that so that I can use that mould. Move this out the road. Make that. Now do we have? I might need this again, so I'm just gonna make a copy of that. Move it out the road. And now I'm going to make the bottom one. This is so that it cuts through and the darker part of the curve shape will all disappear. So, yep, that's good. I should really do both of them together. Yeah, let's do both of them together. So this means bringing this guy back in. And now when we select them all and then do a union group, we have these guys. And the easiest way to do this is, I need to change the snap grid, it's too slow moving. I find it easier to move things around this with the arrow keys. So yeah, what we want to do with this is we want to make this a union group as well. It's asking me if I want to split them. Okay. Bundle group. Union group. I want a union group. I don't think that worked. I wonder why that is. Oh, that's fine. So all I need to do now is take that one, bring that across there, and we just yet again center them up, and when I've centered them up I can take this one down until we start. It's just to stop that coming through the base, as you can see, hopefully. Yep. And next thing we want to do is make a union group of this. Danger. Maybe what I'll do is I'll copy these first, just in case I mess it up. So I've pretty much got a duplicate of everything here. So yeah, right. Let's have a look and see. Right, that's what I want to do. I want to bring them together, union group. So that's one shape. Next thing is this mould. I want to bring over here. And we will just line them up on the centre points. That didn't work. I wonder why. Maybe I hit the wrong one. Why is that not working? Why is that not working? Right, I've done that, but it keeps disappearing. Undo the... Yep. And we want to make that see-through, the red block see-through. And hopefully this is where the magic happens. And we need to leave a little gap, that's about 1 millimetre. And if we now do another union group, we have our perfect. A wee bit too prominent for my liking. Maybe undo that. Yeah, it doesn't come up. So I'm going to undo that. And what I'll do is I'll change this down to 2.5, see what happens. Nope, the whole thing's moving. Just want to move that one. I don't know, that might be too small. Although it's not very raised on the. It's more a line. I'll maybe take that down to about that. Okay, let's try that. Union group. Oh, it's turned red. I don't like it being red. Yeah, I'll make it grey again. There we go. Brilliant. Oh, did I just make that a union group as well? I did too. What an idiot. Let's do that again. That's why it turned red. So yeah, again, I can always change it. So we've got that detail. Now to get the other detail, we've got a couple of options down the side. There's tons and tons of different shapes. The one thing I did think to get the little star thing was drag that star in and make it 4 points, and that would kind of sit. They would kind of be perfect for it because you can change the dimensions of that. But what I'm going to try and do, I'm going to make, because it's actually more square than anything else. So I'm going to go to my square. I am going to make it 30 by 10 just now. And what I'll do is I'll scale that down, 30 by 10. Bring that down to there. There's a number of different options when you create a cube. You can kind of taper the edges and you can reduce the steps, so you get something more like this, which I kind of quite like. And what I want to do is then take that, copy it, rotate it 90, centre these guys up, so we have an actual kind of cross. Next thing to do is two of the points are smaller than the other 2 points, so they're not married together yet, so I want to make that 20, and then I want to centre these again, And we have our little cross. Although I think that looks so good. I'll maybe take that down to 8. I'll take that down to 8mm. Oh, we need to center it again. Boom, boom, done. And this is the thing now, we're going to marry them together. And you can see we kind of have, it does look kind of like the shape. I know you can't see this on the wee camera on the bottom, it's too dark here. But you'll see that once I put this back onto the workbench. I think that's okay. So I'm going to take this down to 3 by 2. And we need to readjust the height as well. I'll just do the height manually. There's a number of nodes on this. It's saying that the little arrow at the top there, I'll actually just pull it up and down, and the little white dot shows you, when you hover over it, shows you the dimension of it. And so I just want to bring that down. It's only the top section we really need on this. And we don't want this bleeding through to the underside of the roof. So if I duplicate that, move that out the road just now, I'm going back to this. Now I know there's a function you can place shapes onto the face of this. I think it's that. So I'm going to see, oh, what has it done? Yeah. So what I want to do, so it's a cruise function. It's just like a magnet. So if I bring that, I want this to be 10mm in from that, so there. Okay, I'll run that up to the line, and it's going to be, so it's 10mm in from, let's just take that off just now. So we want that 10mm in from the edge of the roof. I hope this becomes clear what I'm doing. So I've got roughly that. And so if I move that in, now judging by that shadow, I want to come in about, I think it was about 13. Yeah, roughly about there. The one thing to get this down is to I want to move that into, you can see it's a wee bit more prominent there. So I want to see if I can use the cruise function without moving it, just tilt it the way I want it. And then I'll move that into the model. As you can see, I've got one in place. I need to mirror that. I am sure you can do a mirror function for the actual thing itself. I think I'm going to play this. Just do exactly the same thing that I just done. Do you know what? See if I copy that and then mirror it. That way it will have the angle. Yay. So I just need to kind of match it up on the other side, and it should be in line. Yep. So we want it kind of roughly. So symmetrical. I don't think it is the same. I think that. Let's just take both of these. What am I doing? I want to group them just now. Well, actually, no. Let's get a distance properly. I think they are totally lined up. It just looks a bit funny. I might need to go a wee bit that side. I think they're identical. I could measure it out. Or I could just easily take both of them and line them up like that. Now they're not shown through, so I want to take both of them again and I want to move them down 0.1 millimetre. So just so that that's the kind of cross is showing. That looks not too bad, I think. Now I've got those, I want to copy these, line them up again. Oh no, it's not copied up both of them. Let's delete that. Let's take those two, not make a union group with them, a bundle group. I don't want to do it. Let's just copy. It's done it again, isn't it? Oh no, because it's underneath, that's why. Sometimes I'm not too bright. We just want to line these up with ones there. Yep. And we move them all the way down. And we're looking about 13 millimetres in on that. FDM printer, it's not, obviously it doesn't do great detail, it's this small, but it will show these up. So I'm kind of looking at, if I move this whole thing down, I'll get rid of that. Actually, no, just move it over there. If I take the whole thing and bring it down to the grid so we can see the grid come over the top, I'm going to make that hole. So, oh, that's done all of them a hole. Sugar, solid, solid, so we can actually see it interacting with the grid just now. So from the inside of that box, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. From the inside of that box is, this probably isn't the best way of doing it. So that one's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we should have that all lined up. Lovely. Right. So now the next thing we're going to do is, all we're going to do is just a union group with these. I didn't mean to do that. I need to make that solid first. Right. Let's try that again. There you go. So that should all be one piece. Now I'm going to raise it up, and that should be. Do you know what I think? You know what I've done? Oh man. I've got these little crosses at the top. Round the wrong way. That's not really clever. So what I want to do is turn that. Okie dokie, back again. Sorted the direction of the little crosses on the roof. So now what I need to do is we'll just marry these up, make them one file. So that's done, so it's all one file. I need to check underneath, there's nothing. There is a line coming through, but there's nothing. It doesn't seem to be anything actually. It seems to be flat. Might be an issue in the print. I can always stick it into Blender. And Blender has a little tool which you can just check that your model, all the kind of vectors are all connecting and everything's good for printing. I believe it's make manifold. Right, so I am going to save this and print off. Right, okay, we're now in Orca Slicer Flash Forge, as you can see, which is the make of my 3D printer. And I'm just going to drop the roof that we've just created into the printer. Now, because of what happened last time, we don't want to print it that way because we'll get the streaks when we slice the plate. So I'm using a 0.4 nozzle on my printer. Incidentally, the printer is an Adventurer 5M Pro. So far I seem really impressed with it. I don't have anything to compare it to be honest, but because it's my first 3D printer. So what we're going to do is I want to tilt this on its side. So I'm going to turn this around. You've got to get used to going between different programs, and they all have different mouse functions for moving objects about and all sorts. So when you're jumping between the different programs, it can be a bit of a pain. So I want to cancel that. Oh jeez, I messed up already. Well, let's try that again. Drop it in, and I want to rotate it. So I want to rotate it on the x-axis, and I want to make it 90. Now, obviously, it looks a bit precarious. You can't really print it off like that. There's a lot of there's this section here which won't print in thin air, basically, and also underneath here. So when I slice it, I'm going to have to add some supports. So enable support. There's lots of different settings that you can play about with to see how good a print you can get. It can be quite time consuming, but what I like to do is play about with the settings, but print something off small, or a small section of a large print to see where it comes out like. So I've kind of been messing about with this stuff. Said it's a big, well, kind of a different learning curve from learning what 3D graphic creation. So yeah, it's a case of just playing about with all the settings. Yet again, there's plenty of sort of 3D printer experts out there that I've got tons of videos on how to get the best out of your print. It's also down to things like what filament you use and how good the filament is. So far, the filament that I've been using is okay. It's relatively cheap, but for what I want to use it for just now, it seems to be doing the job. So anyway, let's get to slicing the plate. I have selected the tree support, and if I slice the plate, it'll show you the green sections, they break off, and obviously it keeps the roof completely clean of any supports. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put this to print and see what happens with this. It tells me it's going to be 40 minutes to print this off, and that's probably mainly the tree support, to be honest. So we'll have a go at this and see what happens. Just double check certain things. You can run through to see what the actual print is going to look like. It is very thin, and there's no, the infill looks like the infill is completely solid because there's nothing really for it to infill. So I'll put that back up there, and I'm just going to stick this, head this to print plate. Just like that. I don't want leveling because it's already, I feel as though it has already been leveled today, although I did move it. I'm going to put leveling. Okay, 40 minutes, let's see what happens. Okay, this is the print off. As I said, it's a lot smoother and printed that way around. So, where's the one that I printed off? So that one, obviously, because that was printed flat, it's got all the kind of markings from the printer, the kind of the ridges as it goes through the curve. But as that one's printed that way, it's nice and smooth, and it's got the detail on it. Now, obviously, it's not exact. That would take a wee bit of tweaking, but to be honest, I'm quite happy with that. I mean, a wee bit of weathering, and yeah, I don't think anybody, to be honest, would kind of know the difference. Yeah, looking at those ridges there, that's kind of a deeper curve, and obviously these come out more and are slightly bigger. So yeah, you could tweak it, but yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. Alright, as you can see, I have a number of these now printed off. That was the original. Well, that is the original. That is the original Hornby roof. Now, this is the one that I designed, but some of the kind of features on it aren't very prominent, so I redid this again, and now I have two to go on to the actual carriages or wagons. So I've got two. I will put that away safely in a box, and I'll put these safely in a box. This I will probably put in the plastics recycling. So yeah, I've got two identical ones. Come out okay. I could really mess about with the printer settings and see if I could get any better results. It's it's just a kind of learning process when you've got a 3D printer. To be honest, so that one, the original one is actually smoother. Not quite sure why, but I'm going to go with these two, and I'll put the other two in one of our parts boxes. So anyway, well, thank you very much if you've made it through this video. I hope if you've got any missing parts on any of your locos or wagons or anything like that, if you can't find the spare part, then and you've got access to a printer, then hopefully you could start printing the spare parts off. Apart from that, that's me, and thank you for watching.